All right, Weezy, no poem this week because we got a lot to talk about. The season is officially over, and we are in off-season mode, which I feel like we've been in for the last couple weeks. So, I guess before we get into those talks, Trey Lance made his debut in the Cowboy uniform in stinky Cowboy blue at home uniform, bro. I don't know what we're doing, but if I had one thing to change this offseason, it would be never wear blue at home ever again, and I'd be satisfied with whoever's coaching. But I digress. Thoughts on Trey Lance, Weezy? I'll throw it to you right away.
He wasn't as bad as what I was thinking, especially from what we had seen in previous starts. In preseason games, it seemed truly the only thing that worked on his body was his legs. But you saw some arm action and okay accuracy. I would say there were definitely a few passes. I bet you he'd tell you he wants back to, get a little do-over there, here and there. But no, I think the game plan for him was a really good one where it was get it out of his hand quickly. It's, I would say, simple sounds a little rude, but it was a simple offense where it's like, all right, you have a slant, come in here, look here. If that's not open, then look in the flat. And that worked pretty well. You saw some solid digs in there, here and there. But I thought it was a great game plan for him, easing him into the offense, and I didn't think he looked as useless as I kind of felt he was. So I'm not going to – some people think that, okay, he can then develop into this regular everyday starter, and I don't know about that, but he definitely does seem more serviceable than I was expecting. So, hey, I'm impressed.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is if we can just develop this man's touch on floaters and stuff like that, because he had I don't know, on display there was 6 passes where it was down in the red zone, or of course the Dowdle play. Just dang, if he just had that, man, I would feel so much better about his development, because I don't know how you teach touch, especially since you're a quarterback, bro. How do you not have touch? But it seems like he only knows how to rocket him in there. So that would be nice, but you're right. My first take was dang, he didn't look that bad. He's moving the ball. It kind of helps you're playing against Washington football defense with the run game and Dowdle. So I think that helped. I probably like Mike to call more run plays for Lance. Also, Trey Lance, bro, if you your one asset is your legs. So how do you not know how to do a read option properly? Because he got stuffed on that 4th down, or was it 3rd down, where he jukes at the point of the mesh. It's just how are you that goofy? But maybe it's just hey, he's just kind of rusty, not game time. So, I would have liked to see him try to do back-to-back weeks. Obviously, we don't have that luxury, because I think that pass to Dowdle, yeah, I know people are like, bro, how do you miss that? You're a professional quarterback. I think I kind of may have even said that to start this little rant. But I can see it. If you're just rusty and now you're in game time, you can't simulate that in practice. So I think maybe that just comes with reps. But overall, I feel like there wasn't too big of a difference between him and Rush. Now, you might be right too, Rudy, about saying simplifying and stuff like that for him. And considering the opponent, I think Mr. X said there might be a Washington tax on the his performance, since, like we said, their defense, it leaves a lot to be desired. Washington, so it might.
Yeah, but you know what? To be fair,
the opponent.
To be fair to Lance, especially as opposed to Rush, I think there's more you can do. Just different things you can do, I guess. You wouldn't, Rush did get a rushing touchdown this year, but he's not who I want to run a read option with. I'll leave that to Lance. Wait, did he score on that one or did he fumble it? I'm blanking. I thought Rush got a read option at one point, or it was a read option in the red zone that got first. Anyway, doesn't matter. That you don't want those running style QB run style plays going towards Rush, whereas Lance would excel in that. Ian, I don't think in a normal game, especially with something to play for, I don't think we'd have avoided using Lance's legs as much. I think this was kind of a show me what you got with your arm type game.
Yeah.
We know it's Washington, but you know what? You've been our backup all year. That's kind of what we know of you. Show us something else and show us it with your arm this time. And so I think it was a fair test. I think the corners for Washington aren't too bad, actually. They made some pretty good plays. There was that one to Tolbert where he should have got the first, and they knocked the hell out of the ball out of bounds. He got some weak hands. But no, I I think that it's almost a different offense with Lance, and I think what he's practiced is not the read option that he fumbled or he bungled. He didn't fumble it, but he bungled it. And I think that because the offense he's probably been practicing has been Dax and Cooper's, so yeah, he probably is really rusty on that read option.
Yeah, good points altogether. And I think you're right. They were trying to pass more for him. And I think you also mentioned the wide receivers. Yeah, he didn't have CD Lamb, which is like kind of a huge part of it. But let's look in the offseason now. We can answer those questions about our backup quarterback later. They're not as important to me once Dak gets back. So a lot of big questions to answer, which is our head coach going forward or coaching staff, who fills out the coaching staff going forward, free agency plan, who to re-sign, who should we look at and target. I think we've already dropped a couple position and player groups that we want to focus on in the offseason and in draft. But Rudy, I think it's also very important that the Cowboys kind of felt like a rudderless ship at sea midway through the season. So how do we, I guess my question to you is, what is the direction or what is the game plan, the blueprint that needs to be followed going into the offseason, which also includes maybe the head coach selection as well?
Well, real quick on that head coach selection, I don't know if you saw, but like Adam Schefter had tweeted that the Bears had, of course, wanted to interview Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys declined it. I think that's a pretty big indicator to say that we're not going to have a switch at head coach next year. It's still possible. It is. And maybe those owner meetings will be awkward when we decline to allow McCarthy to interview and then we still didn't stick with him. I don't get that at all. Bears ownership is going to be like, what the hell, man? But anyway, I think he'll be back. But
Yeah.
I do think you'll have a switch at defensive coordinator. You had mentioned before we got on that Micah was talking about Mike Zimmer returning and basically saying like I would love to have him back, but he might not want to come back. I think that's also a pretty good indicator of you're probably going to have a new DC next season. So as far as offseason move, I'm intrigued as to who Jerry brings in for that because we know their hiring practices. We know the kind of coaches they like, and it tends to be a little bleak.
Yeah. So the reason I asked it like that about direction maybe first and then the coaching staff, because to me, I think it's important that you get direction or your offseason. Yeah, you have to figure out what you want from this team first before you can even go into getting your head coach. You know, you got to have the whole picture and then you can fill out those smaller parts, which is the head coaching staff. So you mentioned also too, like the Mike McCarthy thing. I kind of think that's how the front office operates with dropping like we're declining the Bears interviewing him, but we're not also at the same time, we're not saying he's our head coach. That kind of does my head in, but I'll come back to that later because I think
Sure. Yeah. There's so many tangents that my brain's going 10 places at once. My fault. Let me refocus
let me just say this though too about the blueprint, and the reason I kept talking about the direction, figure out the direction first before the head coaching selection is because I think next season we already know that we have our quarterback, we have our core pieces, a wide receiver, cornerback. Micah Parsons more than likely will be here again. I know he's here next year, but down the road. So you already have your core pieces. So I think you can't look for a huge overhaul or a change in philosophy or a guy who's looking to rebuild. So more or less, you can't have a new head coach. What you need is kind of, I think your focus should be on a strong run game and a strong defense. That's what the Cowboys need to be going into next season. And you might be thinking like, hey, they don't do that really. But I disagree because I think the last half of this last season, we saw that, hey, let's not put too much on Cooper Rush unless we're really desperate. Let's focus on Rico Dowdle getting his touches, and let's see what this defense can do. And more or less, like for the first half, the defense kept this team in the game. So they need to kind of be the focal point of our season going forward. They can do it. They just need some help in the second half. And I think the two biggest problems in this last half of the season, obviously, was the quarterback injury. Cooper Rush's play, he's good, but he's not a number one quarterback. So with Dak being back, I feel like that takes care of one of the issues about this offense. And the second issue is the running back carousel or by committee idea. It was just a failed experiment all around. I'm not going to name names, but you do have a reliable option in Dowdle if you choose to bring him back, which I hope they do. Now, I don't want him to be RB1, but I think he is a good piece to maybe help a young guy get settled in here next season. But that's what I guess my point is, and I guess I would like to know your reaction if you think that's a good choice, is to be a run-first offense and a strong defense, and kind of leave Dak as an emergency option, like break in case of emergency. Like, okay, none of this is working. We need to activate Dak in this game.
So I don't think that Dak is an emergency break glass if there's an emergency type quarterback. I think he's too good, simply put. But what I want next year with the offense is a consistent balance. This run game is too good to ever abandon in a game. I honestly think you could be down 3 scores in the second half, and as long as your defense does their job, the run game will get you back, because it is that we do move the ball that well, and then you can play off the run game if need be. But that being said, you can see over this stretch what it's like when you can't throw the ball either. So I think Dak is such a skilled quarterback, and I think the thing is that he might be too skilled for his own good, where I think Mike tried harder for better game plans with Trey Lance and Cooper Rush, and whereas with Dak, it was definitely more basic, and it was definitely he knew the run game wasn't going to work. He would try it, but then it didn't work, and so he's like, all right, Dak's either audibling out or we're just doing stops. And I don't know, man. I think the biggest thing to me, you would mention the coaching staff, or think of the bigger picture first and then the smaller pieces. And it sounded like that the coach was kind of one of the smaller pieces. And I don't think that that's exactly right in my mind. I think you could look at the Chargers, whereas they did not have a big roster overhaul. They just put in Jim Harbaugh. And that team looked pretty dang stout. I think you have a similar defense. I think you have a really good quarterback as well. I think you have a better receiver. I think a change at head coach can change everything, to be honest. You could look at the Broncos. They do bring in Bo Nix, but no one here is saying Bo Nix is that good. It was the new head coach. It was the new system. Good defense, run game. So the focus should definitely be you should never have a defense that's second anyway. Like, if your offense is better than your defense, then your defense better at least be average. It's a good thing to have a great offense, but you can't have a bad defense in general. So, I mean, I'm always going to want the greatest defense I can possibly have. No one would ever say otherwise, right? So focus on defense. It's massive to me. There's a lot of free agents. You should, again, always strive to have the greatest defense you can. Offensively, just don't give up balance. Like, please stay balanced. Both of them work. Point. Our run game does work, and our passing game absolutely works under Dak. He led the league in scoring the last 2 seasons or whatever. Just don't give up on either.
I guess what I was trying to say with my the bigger picture thing is, I guess the starting point should be the direction of the team, or what you want this team's identity to be, and then it's the head coach. So the starting point shouldn't be the head coach going into this offseason. And then I think you're right, Dak is really good, but he's also, like, we've kind of seen his limitations in the biggest games. And when we were focusing, hey, Dak, lift up these wide receivers, the Cole Beasleys in that year and whatnot, when we had to get Amari Cooper, didn't work out. Or, hey, that's not really Mike's first year before Dak got injured with his leg. We had a good offense, but the defense couldn't stop anybody. It just, for whatever reason, Dak, it just doesn't work with Dak. So I want to take more off his plate. I'm not saying he's bad, but I just want like more off his plate. But let's move on to the head coaching selection. You did mention that Rappaport note. And I also think this is why it would be good to have McCarthy back, because if he is able to balance the offense like you mentioned, which he did the second half of this season, then I like him coming back because I think we really need consistency more than anything. We don't need a new head coach getting used to everything. And there is the front office. They want a guy who's been there before. And with the candidates now available, that's very limited group. And I don't see anybody that's available as a head coach that's not named McCarthy that is better out there.
Yeah, look, Jerry wasn't going to bring in Ben Johnson. We know that.
Yeah, I think that was a pipe dream.
He wasn't going to do Slowick. What's his first name? I forget his first name. Slowick from Tennessee. We weren't going to bring in Bobby Slowick, I think it is. We're not going to bring in the young upstart coach. It's unfortunate because those seem to be the ones doing fantastic. But essentially, your options are retreads or Jason Witten or Mike McCarthy.
Or Coach Bro in Washington. Jerry might have had his eyes turned with the late game heroics from his offense.
It wouldn't be the first time a last loss one season becomes a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys later on, but I think, man, the options suck, man. So I do think you have to stick with McCarthy at that point. And I hate saying it, but genuinely, I mean, like, Jerry's not bringing in anyone. You could have thought of Mike Vrabel, but the second Gerard Mayo was fired, I think they're getting Vrabel. So that's out of the question. Belichick's gone. Name another old coach. I can't think of one right now. So
a couple of names I'll throw at you: Gruden, Pete Carroll. Is there anybody else? I did mention Coach Bro to you. That's a little bit different, but that's a young guy I feel like Jerry would feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Gruden sounds like it's a made-for-TV movie or something, man. Like, we can't have that many personalities going around between the front office, the head coach, and then, like, there's no room for the players at that point.
But can you imagine the tickets? I feel like Jerry
just by you saying that sentence right there, Gruden absolutely is a candidate for him. Jesus Christ, no.
There's Doug Peterson. I thought of another one, Doug Peterson. And I think we would all agree that Mike McCarthy is still the best option after all those four names I listed.
I might entertain Doug a little bit. Might entertain it. The thing, Ian, is that I don't want to lose the chance to be great because I'm good right now. And I think that's the case with McCarthy and Zimmer, is that, okay, you see your defense, it's solid. I don't want to ruin that. Okay, your offense, you got weapons, and we have continuity here. I don't want to ruin that. Okay, but what has having both those done in the last 2 years has done? Not enough. You would say that, I would say that. And so I do think there's a fear of losing good at the risk of going to be great. Now, that being said, I don't got a crystal ball in front of me. I don't know the head coach, but I just know this regime ain't good enough. It's not good enough. I know that as a fact. But damn, man. Knowing who our front office is, you're extremely limited on who you can bring in. Like, this is trying to be a GM on, like, the hardest mode you can possibly be in.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this, too. The front office is a big, it keeps the offense around of interesting options, branching out and trying new things. And maybe, like you said, going from good to great or trying to be great, being a little risky. But also, I still think just because you have your franchise quarterback with a huge cap hit, I feel like you need a guy who's done that before. I just feel like it's not the time. If Dak wasn't re-signed this season, then I think you have an option to maybe try Ben Johnson and stuff like that. But I think with him already being locked up, I just don't think that a young guy, even if we brought a young guy in, I wouldn't think that would be a good idea.
I mean, you saw Zach Taylor take the Bengals to a Super Bowl in what, his first or second year? No, I get.
Yeah,
look,
but what year was Burrow in?
he was in his second year.
Yeah. He's
Okay, but you know what that roster was
quarterback.
that year too? Like that roster wasn't that much better than the roster that you have right now, regardless of what their salaries are. The players are the players on the field, and it's a very similar team.
Mm, no, I
My point
disagree.
is that a young coach is not guaranteed. I feel like you and a former member of our show were scared of a new coach to a fault. It's okay to be wary to say that any new young coach is great. That's perfectly fine to say that that's ridiculous. Like, there's no, not all of them will be great. But some will be. Absolutely, some will be. The crop of head coaches that we have right now will not be the greatest head coaches we ever see in this game. There will have to be people coming through the ranks. You kind of have to give them a shot at some point. And the thing that I hate about our front office is you can just ignore that, because if you have never coached in this league before, you will never be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But I think that's faulty, man. And to think that just because you were a head coach at one point means that you're better than the crop coming up, I don't think that's fair either.
No, I mean, I'm not scared of a new head coach. I just don't think it's the right time for a new head coach. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, like I said, if Dak wasn't resigned and we could go a whole different direction, then yeah, let's do it. But
I
I
don't see
think we're
why.
just both
Real quick,
fundamental.
but why?
I just because like I feel like you have your core. Like you can't move and flex and be flexible within like a young guy coming in. And what's he gonna do with these pieces? I
But
feel
you
like
can't.
they'll
I
be
mean,
too
so like
old to.
Gruden won a Super Bowl with a team that wasn't built by him. He was just a
Mhm.
new, hot, like high energy coach. He did not build Tampa, and they were established, and they won a Super Bowl. I don't think that the path to success is always the same. It's not always the same, but you've seen young coaches take over older teams and still get it done.
You have to send me that list because I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, I
But
got you. I got you.
let's move on to.
To be fair, John and Jim were both young coach. One was a special teams coordinator and was hired as a head coach. Those are two of the greatest coaches we have in our game. And they were young as of like 10 years ago, and their career started very hot, as you'll remember. So there's two in one family tree.
Okay. Let's move on. I guess we've already talked kind of about free agencies a little bit. I guess I really want to get to this defense real quick. Brought up Mike Zimmer. I think it's all kind of coming into focus about why he signed his 1 year deal because maybe his heart is really into it. All season I've been hyping to bring this man back or at least give him an interview. If he wants to stay, I would like that. But if his heart isn't in it, I guess we'll have to look somewhere else. It is a big task, but I really want this. I want him to stay because I really want consistency in the defense. You know, I think they've gone through like 8 coordinators in the last 10, 11 years. And that just, you can't build success with that. And I don't want these guys to go through that again after what they've kind of put down this last half of the season. So whoever can, if Zimmer's heart isn't into it, he's my ideal choice, but his heart ain't into it. He's trying to move on, do other things. Then let's get someone who knows the scheme and can kind of run it going forward.
Yeah. Again, I don't think you can ever be scared of change and scared of bringing in a
Okay.
new coordinator. That's my view of it. I also think that not only I think that it's done that he's not coming back. The fact that Micah mentions that, it sounds like it was said in the locker room that Mike Zimmer, or at least his body language in the locker room, was like, "Shit, this might be the last time I'm ever in one of these." Like, I don't think Micah just volunteers that type of information. I mean, what did he say like 2 weeks ago? when he's referring to like, okay, so there's a Trevon Diggs thing, and then apparently the Cowboys are mad at Trevon Diggs' rehab, and then Micah says something along the lines of like, I'm not gonna say it now, but there's like a lot of things that I've been seeing, like kind of like instead of the Cowboys blaming Trevon, he's saying like, no, I've seen some stuff the Cowboys training staff and doctors are doing that has ruined that process. It's not Trevon's fault. But he didn't say it. I don't think he just says he talks a lot, but I don't think he volunteers secret information up. I think that's a great indicator that Mike Zimmer has showed that locker room that he's done. He's walking out. So as far as bringing in a new DC, you have great personnel here. Don't give me a DC who wants to draft. Just give me someone who's trying to like. I saw you make a face there.
He said we have great personnel here. I mean,
dude, okay. As Mike is probably like a top 2 or 3 defensive player in the league. Yes or no?
Yes, I will agree with. No. I want you to go through and list them.
Okay,
I feel like
your corners are not bad. Your corners are solid between Diggs, Bland, and why am I forgetting his name? I'm looking at Jordan Lewis.
Only one of them. They all have injury history now, so we'll throw a little caution in the wind there. But continue. Let's continue.
Okay, well, you got some young players between Overshown and Leafau showing some solid and Marshawn Neeland. He should have wrapped up old Mariota on one of those plays, but
I was going to say it's a bad week to hype him up because Leafau missed Mariota and then Neeland also missed Mariota.
That's all right. I've seen.
Hey, and Overshown, another injury, unfortunately. So I think we're really close on a really
okay. So then, how does Mike Zimmer fix? Okay, so you're saying there's holes everywhere and everyone's hurt. Then how does Mike Zimmer fix that?
Well, he's already gone through it. We've seen him do it with plug and play guys.
Yeah, he's gone through and doesn't want to do it again. He's done.
No, come on, that's not true. He's not. He's gone through it and he maybe wants to move somewhere else because he's old. It's not because he went through and said, "Oh, this is too much for me."
Do you think he's trying to continue coaching football, just not in Dallas?
No, I think he's done with football entirely.
I think so as well.
So yeah, what is that?
My initial point was just like, okay, then Mike Zimmer made the defense look pretty solid at some point in the season, but not until the weapons came back. And so I pointed out that, like, okay, that's fine, right? Yes, and clearly he had good enough weapons to make the defense look okay. So when I say the defense has solid pieces, that includes the best defensive player in the league. I don't understand what Mike Zimmer did so great that best player in the defense and best defensive player in the league can't do with the next head coach.
Because it's not just about that guy. It's about the other 10 out there and getting them to play. I mean, we saw Mike do well with the guy from the
Mike
USFL.
Zimmer didn't realize what his safeties were capable of for 10 weeks.
That's not true. It didn't take that long. It didn't take that long.
It took at least 8.
Okay, but can I at least get you to admit that switching schemes year in and year out does not help defense or offense? Like you've seen enough football to agree with that, right?
I mean, look, yes.
Okay.
Right? I mean, yes. But if you can bring good defensive coordinators, Brian Flores going to Minnesota. That was a new DC this year. Looks damn fantastic to me. I think that it's an oversimplification to say that these players can't adjust to a new scheme. I don't think that's right at all, actually. I think you can, not everyone, of course, not everyone, but you can absolutely bring your stars to other schemes.
Okay. I guess I also took issue with you saying we have great personnel. We do have some good personnel.
All right, we have some great players.
There's going to be a lot of change.
Not everyone. You're not wrong. I don't know.
There's going to be a lot of change.
All that. I shouldn't have said all that. I shouldn't have said all that. That was too much. But we do have star players. We do have that.
You do have some studs.
And I think they can translate to other schemes.
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't. But it's just, I think that should be very important, choosing your DC.
It is very important. I don't. We tend not to talk front office too much on this show. I think it's extremely important. I think it's less important to the front office. It seems
Ugh.
it's the littlest effort ever. It truly is. It's like who's someone who's been in the league for at least 5 years. Boom, that's the list I pick off of. And so I don't think there's a genuine effort to find the best DC you can. It's a DB coach for Baltimore, whatever. I don't know,
Al
just throwing
Harris
stuff
being
out.
elevated or someone else.
And
Al,
the only reason Al Harris wasn't in this. I was in the coach without McCarthy here,
yeah.
so it's he would not have been considered by all front office if McCarthy's not here. Like I'm saying, we avoid youth, and that's the biggest issue we have.
Okay. Here's one more
Or
thing
a
too.
big one. It's not the biggest, but it's a big issue in the hiring process.
Yeah. I guess my last thing on the scheme thing is just sometimes you have a DC that has a different philosophy, and that means we got to change the personnel in here because I like big guys. You know, Dan Quinn, I like big corners, or Chris Richard, I like big corners. That kind of would have had Lewis out here. So I just don't want to do a complete 180, and that messes with our draft, picks. It shouldn't, but we've seen that mess with draft selection and free agency acquisition. It's because we want different, personnel. And that's why I want to be consistent.
I think that's a fair concern. I mean, look, we went from drafting Jordan Lewis and Xavier Woods to drafting Michael and Joe Jackson because of their
Nashawn
length.
Wright. Recently.
Nashawn Wright. You're not wrong on that.
That's what I just want to avoid. That's all I'm saying.
Quinn's been gone for a year, and Zimmer didn't draft any, so there is no current identity of the defensive backs. So, again, if someone wants to rewrite what that looks like, that's fine with me.
Okay, so I made a point that saying, strong run game, strong defense. So I'm kind of voting like heavy investment on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, I think we can kind of drill down a little bit. We mentioned it before. I need a skilled guy, skilled playmaker, skilled player. Wide receiver, running back. That needs to be a priority in the offseason. I'm not as down on Mingo as when he got traded. I'm kind of interested in what he could bring. Not saying he's a solution, but a lot more interested in him than Tolbert, Brooks, Flournoy, any of those guys, and see what he can do in the offseason. Obviously, bring back Turpin. You can let Cooks walk. I think it'll be hard, but like sentimental value. But I am in agreement with you. Let Martin walk. We talked about Dak a lot, but honestly, I'm most confident in this offensive line. Resign Hoffman. I don't know if he's restricted or not. I am kind of intrigued by Edoga if you can keep him around. I'm not sure there will be a bidding war for him, but he is a nice backup. I don't think any of us can deny that. You made a face. I guess it's not really.
It's because I heard the first part, but when you said he's a nice backup, then I was like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another year with Guyton, that might be good for him. He was substituted again, I think, against Washington. Austin Richards finished the game.
Yeah.
But I do like the O-line, very confident in if we can bring back Dowdle. But I think you also kind of have not bad backups. I would think Lipke would be.
I assume you're bringing Lipke back.
Yeah, well, he's not.
Even outside of the touches, I like what he's doing blocking as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good weapon right there. I'm enjoying that.
So you mentioned that. So that's why I kind of mentioned Mingo, because he is I feel like I've heard that he's a bigger receiver and that he's pretty good in the run, as a run blocker. Tolbert isn't that. He's not good at that. But I know you're making a face, but Noah Brown, he could do the job of blocking and stuff like that. I think it's important for this offense. So if I could make a comparison between Mingo as a Noah Brown and Tolbert as a lesser CeeDee Lamb, as he can't even catch the ball, run routes, or be anywhere as dynamic, and he's not going to block. Like, what is he good for? So that's what I'm saying. Mingo maybe have a little upside.
And we're going to have Mingo for the next few years, right?
I believe so. So it's not like, yeah, so you don't have to worry about contract situation with him too much, but I would like to see his snaps increase and and it will once he's been here through the offseason. And then finally, let me just say tight ends, all of them are under contract as far as I'm aware. Big years for pretty much all of them. Definitely Ferguson. I know we had a conversation last week about him, but yeah, I just think I would like to see more from him going forward. I think he's the best of the group, but maybe Schoonmaker can challenge him next season. Any thoughts on the personnel on who to keep? And did I miss a name, Rudy?
No, man. Like, I pretty much agree with you. The Ferg thing too. I mean, like you saw it this week, the yin and yang of him, because there's a first and like 18 or something. Catches it. There's like 4 more yards to go for a first down, and he mashes straight into the defense and gets the first. Just, like perfect play. And then there's a play later in the game where I forget exactly what he ran, but Lance hits him with a pass off the hands. It's a little high, but Ferg needs to catch that. So to me, it is a really big year on Ferg because it's essentially like, are you going to be our tight end 1 going for the next 5 years? Or are we going to look to move you and find someone else? We know that we can kind of work with Schoon a little bit. Schoon is nothing special, but he does the boring stuff well enough. So, and then as far as a Mingo, look, man, I think if you draft a receiver, so your wide receiver 1 is CD, then you have your rookie, and then you have Turpin and Mingo, I think that's fine. Mingo hadn't shown me enough where I want him ever to be in my top 3 receivers, but he's or worth a 4th round pick, but he's all right. He's there. And Tolbert showed me Tolbert hasn't done bad, but he's done nothing great either. Like, I think his performances are very replicable. It almost reminds me of Laurent Robinson, where someone might see his the stat line and give him a paycheck, but that doesn't mean that he's actually like good enough for that.
I think he might be more of a T. Will because Laurent Robinson had himself a year that Tolbert did not at all this season. But I guess I kind of see your point.
It might not have been the exact year, but it's only 1 year, and that's it. And that ain't enough for me to want to pay him.
Yeah. All right, so we touched on the head coach, offense and defense. Finally, I just have a message to the front office. I know they're very frustrating group as a whole. I don't understand why they're waiting to announce the head coach. To me, it just seems. I guess the one I do want to get out is like the front office message should be a lot more positive than this hemming and hawing. And I don't know what we're gonna do. And Stephen Jones talked about the cap already. It's just. I know they want to act. I don't know. I guess they want to steal the headlines, but like, if you want to steal the headlines, just make it positive, man. Just like show us, like, you're at least at the very least, you're going to be positive with your messaging. And I think since Jerry was on like the what was the oil show with Billy Bob or whatever,
Landman.
Yeah, Landman. My main issue with this is like I think the front office as a whole is that they love the soap opera. That's why they're dragging this out and everything. But the thing about a soap opera is it has terrible writing. So all this like terrible we're stealing the headline. It's just like the worst PR out there. It's such low hanging fruit. Bro, stop watching Landman. Stop watching Yellowstone. Old man in the front office, bro. Go get yourself a good young writer. Get you someone that can write you a good headlines and steal the headlines going forward, man, and get you that positive message that I'm preaching for. Because these soap opera headlines that you're going for are just so overplayed and so overdone. And we'll see it a mile. We see it coming. So that's the one thing I would like to fix.
Ian, everyone knows bad news travels quicker than good news. Negativity travels faster than positivity. And there's nothing Jerry loves more than every media member spending 4 days on a story that should take 1. He's quadrupled his airtime just by waiting a little bit. The reason we don't talk about the front office throughout half the year is because we know who they are and we can't just fall into the trap of blaming them at every turn. We know how dumb they are. We know how inadequate they are. We know the effort that they put in to free agency, to hiring, to scouting. Well, scouting's all right. But we know it's nowhere near enough. And so we tend to ignore it. But you know what? We're talking offseason. We're talking moves. And they deserve all the blame, Ian. They absolutely do. You want to talk about direction? Direction starts at the top, man. And we don't have a direction. We say we're going for it, and we don't show the effort to do that. So then it falls on the next man, and now it's on the head coach, and now it's on the players. And now is a lack of accountability. It's embarrassing. It's trash. It is what it is. And we got something a little special for you. Ian, I know you've gone through the tapes, and I believe you have some very interesting takes with you.
Yes, Rudy. As you guys all know, we did a season preview to start the NFL season. And there were some takes out there. Rudy, I think you might be happy to know that you were not on the worst takes. Now, you weren't on the good takes. You didn't have any amazing takes to start the season, but you weren't on the bad one either.
All right. I'll take it.
And let me just say this, that I or Mr. X cannot say the same, because we have a couple bad takes out there.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start with the things we got wrong. Let me just start with the things I got wrong. And Rudy, I guess, am I guilty for getting this wrong with saying the Panthers are NFC South contenders?
Okay, mathematically, you're wrong. But if you watched this last week when the Falcons are fighting for their playoff lives and Carolina beats them in OT, they kind of did look at it in the end. They had a few games this year. I could say, Ian, you were spot on. But
okay.
They also had
maybe
a few.
A season
I would
early.
say
maybe a season ahead of schedule.
Mathematically, nah.
Let's do it this way. I'll read you the 4 bad takes I have written down, or 5, and you tell me which one was the worst. Okay, so you have mine. Panthers are NFC South contenders. Here's another one from yours truly: is the Eagles will fade into the second half of this season like they did last season. Mr. X and I both believe that Washington football team will be nothing new this season. They'll be down in the dumps as per usual.
Okay.
Another one from your boy. The Vikings will struggle. Technically, as a show, I don't think we were too confident, but I'll put that one on myself. And my nomination for the absolute worst, but I'll let you decide, Rudy. Mr. X saying that this season will be a swan song for Aaron Rodgers as he leads the Jets to the AFC title.
Yes.
Now, I think I can sprinkle in a couple of I might have had some reasoning, but that one, I think
that was hope.
It was the worst.
That was praying for it. There was nothing to indicate that the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets would be great. I would say, I think that you saying the Vikings were going to be trash, irrelevant.
Yes.
I would say that at that time was not an irresponsible take. I mean, it was Sam Darnold coming in at QB.
Thank you.
I don't think that's too irresponsible. I think the Jets one's worse. I do think saying that Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets are going to have a swan song. No. Absolutely not. That's the worst to me.
Me too. Not just because that's the only one I wasn't attached to, but also I think it was the worst. So now let's look on
the Eagles one was a pretty interesting. See that one, I bet you I probably said something along the lines of absolutely. They got killed in the playoffs. The Cardinals had that big game against them. That I'm very amazed that the Eagles have not fallen off the way that I expected them to. So
exactly. See, we can agree. I was bathing on some truths, but that Aaron Rodgers one, oof. All right. Now, Mr. X kind of also redeems himself with some of the best takes to start the season. He's on here the most. The one he got right was Stroud being overhyped from last season. He would now. I should say, like, he didn't say Stroud was going to be bad this season or like downright awful, but he would say he would come back down to earth, and the media would have to come back down to earth on Stroud. And I think for the most part, he got that right.
I think, yeah, completely so.
Another one he made was he said, damn it all, I don't care about all this offseason talk with the Chicago Bears. They will absolutely stink again. And he may have been nervous around September, but I think without a doubt, with their 10-game losing streak, I do believe he is absolutely correct. Not as good as his Stroud one, I think, but altogether he was right on the Bears.
Okay, I don't know how, but like I feel like that Stroud one was kind of unfounded as well. Like his first take.
Okay, you take issue with it.
I did take issue with it, but you know what? Whether I take issue with it or not, he was right. I did not see this coming from Stroud. I expected a jump in his second year, but no, Mr. X was correct on that one. I got to give him some credit.
Yeah, I guess it's funny to say that in retrospect because I think they have maybe a better season than last season with their win record total. They're 10-7 now. I'm not sure what they were last season. I thought maybe they might have been 9-8, or is 10-7 sound right? Were they 11-6? I don't know. I don't have the evidence in front of me. But
that
it is
run
fun to say
game was
that.
vastly improved bringing in Joe Mixon.
And they have an AFC South crown to show for it. So even though maybe he wasn't completely proven.
Well, were there any other teams in the AFC South actually trying to win
you're right.
games?
But I am saying you're right. And then I will also throw my hat into the ring, as I said, the Rams are good enough to win the NFC West, and that will round out the best takes.
Oh, dude, okay, that's an outrageous take. Even
really?
Right now, yeah, I think that's more ridiculous than Stroud and what was the other one again?
The Bears will stink again.
And Bears. I think the Rams one is more ridiculous because I think that the perception was that the Niners are the best team in the league outside of the Super Bowl champions. And honestly, a lot of people were still taking Niners over Chiefs at that point. I think the show has shown Brock Purdy the exact level of respect he deserves, which is none. But the media, I think everyone would have said Niners, Niners, Niners. And if not them, then probably Seahawks. But you went out on a limb with that one. I'll give you some credit there.
I appreciate it, but I also can't take all the credit, as I also have our winners of each division and our wild card selections. So let me just start with the NFC West.
Okay.
We all had the 49ers winning, so I did say that the Rams would contenders, but I didn't say they would win. I said they're good enough to win the NFC West.
Remind me on the first episode next year to just say that everyone wins every division.
Because, we went – the show did say the 49ers repeat as NFC West winners. So you might have given me too much credit earlier, but I will also say –
you hid half the information from me.
I will also say we did kind of poo-poo Brock before he was fashionable.
True.
So actually, we did a really good job on the division. Rudy, I think you might deserve some credit for being the only one to take the Eagles as the NFC East champions.
Oh, you see it.
I was the only one to take the Bucks as champions in the South. I already mentioned the West. And in the North,
who did I take in the South? The Falcons?
Falcons. You and Mr. X took the Falcons.
I'm upset with myself there.
And then Mr. X and I took the Cowboys to win the East. In the North, we all took the Lions.
Okay.
In the wild card, I think we all were pretty big on – you and I were big on the Packers, Cowboys, and Eagles. The only one I guess we really missed on was – Rudy, you missed on the Seahawks.
Okay.
And that was it. We were pretty much accurate with our playoffs selections, but just the rankings was a little bit off. But the Seahawks might have been the biggest miss. Going to the AFC, we already talked about Mr. X's prediction on the Jets. Rudy, you and I took the Bills, and bingo, got that one right.
Yep.
Mr. X, again, maybe he just got bored with the South, but he took the Colts. Rudy, you and I took the Texans.
All right. There's some sense there.
The West, we swept with the Chiefs, and in the North, we swept with the Ravens. So, swept the AFC, not too bad. The wild card selection, the only one that was, the Dolphins made it to the last week and were playing for something, but they were popular amongst us, but they didn't make it. But I think, Mr. X also took the Browns, so I think Mr. X, we might have to revoke his takes for the AFC to start next
Browns.
Season. Because
that's crazy.
With the Browns, Colts, and Jets, he's whiffed.
Browns, Colts, Jets?
Yes.
Oh, he wasn't trying. I mean, there's no way. He's watched football before. I know he has.
Well, maybe not AFC football, just in
Browns,
football.
Colts, Jets. That's stunning. I think we should just end the show on that. That's crazy.
Well, we can't end the show yet because we have the best segment coming up next, which is the Pick'ems.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Pick'ems. Ian, I know you got them stats for us. What do you have there?
Yeah, so last week it was just too close. Rudy, congratulations. You and I finished on top with 9 wins.
You see it.
Not bad. Just one game over above 500. And Mr. X finished 8-8. But Rudy, unfortunately, your nice little run at the end of the season just wasn't enough to get you back in the race, as you still finished on third with 132 wins.
All right.
Shut
it down. I'm not doing the pod anymore. I'm done.
Last week, as I had taken the number 1 spot, and I kept it. And I'm happy to say that I am this season's winner.
What are the final standings? What are the numbers?
So I just have the wins, but you finished with 132 wins. Mr. X with 137, and your boy with 139.
Okay, that's all right. You know what? If I'm being honest, I think last year I lost by 20. And so we're on a good trend. Wait till next season.
Next season,
hopefully. We'll see. But you know what? We're not done with picking games, Ian, because it is playoff time. So we're doing a bracket. Enough for this nonsense spread shiz. It is time for the real stuff. We're going ahead and jump into the AFC. Ian, the Houston Texans are taking on the Chargers. Let me get you the location of that game because right now I don't have it. That game will
It's in Houston.
Be in Houston. Ian, who's winning that one?
I think at a certain point I said whoever the Texans play are losing in their first playoff game. So with that being said, I'll take the Chargers.
All right, Chief, you're going Chargers. I will go with Houstonius.
Oh,
yeah. Give me H-Town. Ian, moving on as I write down your prediction. Next game is a divisional matchup. It's the Ravens and Pittsburgh. That game will be in Baltimore. Ian, who are you taking there?
Even though the Pittsburgh Steelers have been fumbling down the stretch of the season, I think this game will still be interesting because they're division opponents, and Steelers and the Ravens can just be silly at the worst of times. All that being said, I think the Ravens will get the job done at home. So give me the Ravens.
All right. I, too, am no fool and will take the Baltimore Ravens. The next matchup, sorry. Gotta write a few things there. The next matchup and the last matchup in the AFC are the Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Broncos. That game will be in Buffalo. Ian, who are you taking there?
Yeah, Rudy, I hate to do this to you since I know they have a soft spot for you since you called them the dark horse this season, but I think the Bills will just wipe the floor with the Broncos. A nice season from the Denver Broncos, something to build upon. I think they're way ahead of schedule, kind of similar to the Chargers by making the playoffs this season. But ultimately, I think their run stops here, and the Bills get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with you. I didn't realize my dark horse would be playing Buffalo in Buffalo the first week of the playoffs. It's a little tough. So I will go with Buffalo. Ian, that means that your lowest seed taken is Houston.
No, it's the Chargers.
I'm sorry, I was looking at. Wait. Hey, yeah, I put the wrong color there. One of those pins where you change the color. I gave you the wrong color. That's on me. Yes, you took the Chargers. So that will be who goes on to take on Kansas City in your bracket. The lowest one for me was Houston. So I will go ahead and take them.
You're taking Houston over Kansas City?
No. I'm sorry. No. I meant that's who's taking on Kansas City in my bracket. Did you want to do wild card AFC, wild card NFC, or just kill AFC? Then we'll go.
Let's just kill the AFC since we're.
Let's kill the AFC. While we're looking at it, Baltimore and Buffalo will be playing each other. That one will take place in Buffalo. Who are you taking?
Yeah, so we have the same matchup here, and I think I'm just picking out of spite at this point. I think I made it known I don't like the Bills. I just don't like them. So I think the Ravens can get it done since they did in the regular season. I think it might be hard to do it again, but especially on the road this time. But I'll take the Ravens. What the heck?
All right. Ian, let me tell you something. When I go with my heart, I lose.
Okay.
And my heart says Baltimore. So I'm circling the wagons. I'm jumping in that snow without a shirt, leaping onto a table with my elbow first. And I'm taking Buffalo.
I don't think you can go wrong, to be honest.
Ian, Kansas City is going to be taking on the Chargers for you, Houston for me. Keaton, Jesus Christ. Ian, who you taking? Chiefs, Chargers.
This could be interesting, but I don't think the Chiefs run ends this early, so I guess I just take the Chiefs just because.
All right, so there's not going to be too much drama here as I will follow suit. Take KC. I got KC versus Buffalo. You got KC versus Baltimore. Both games will be in Kansas City. Ian, Kansas City, Baltimore. Who you taking?
Rudy, I really respect you that you realize that your heart is your own worst enemy at times. But I cannot. I'm not a big enough or smart enough man as you are, Rudy. I will just keep riding the Ravens in this matchup as well. So I will take the Ravens. Just because fuck the Chiefs. I don't have any will, but I would love to see the Ravens make a Super Bowl.
Hey man, I would love to see it. I've already knocked them out, so I will not be seeing it, and neither will America because my predictions are always correct. I'm going to go ahead and say number 17 will be the first number out that tunnel in Super Bowl, whatever number it is. Give me the Bills, Josh Allen and the boys.
Wow.
Yeah, get KC out of here. I'm not believing in it.
So, what are you making that prediction based on? Because I mentioned I was basically just out of heart.
No, okay, so I think that's based on seeing Kansas City win like 10 games that they really should have lost. And they won them, right? So picking them to lose after that seems a little. I just think it was fluky, and you can't replicate it. You can't get lucky that many times. I think the carriage turns into a pumpkin. Cinderella, it's all gone. All the magic's done with, and Buffalo. And there's no magic in Buffalo. It's just dirt, sweat, tears, blood.
Interesting. I'm very interested in the fact that we have not the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for the AFC.
I'm astonished, if I'm being honest. But let's slide on over to the NFC. Ian, the Rams and Minnesota are playing a game that will be in LA. Ian, who are you taking there?
Yeah, this is a juicy matchup. Out of the AFC, I only found the Ravens and Steelers matchup interesting. Here, I think we have a lot of options in the NFC. Starting with the Vikings and Rams. Man, it's a tough one to call. I just don't think the Vikings. I like what they've done, and man, I'll take the Vikings. I don't really know what's the reason.
I thought like you were about to switch over to the Rams. That's a clean sweep for Minnesota. I'm taking the Vikings. Next game, Ian. We got Tampa and Washington in Tampa Bay. Who are you taking there?
Yeah, Tampa Bay is weird. I don't understand how they start slow sometimes. But I think they have more than enough quality to even overcome that against Washington. Maybe there will be some expectations weights on Tampa Bay, but I think ultimately they get the job done and knock out Washington.
Yeah. There's no reason to ever take Washington against Tampa in this setting. That being said, I've seen Tampa come to AT&T and absolutely lay an egg for no reason without the playoffs locked up. So I'm going with one of the teams I've been high on all year, that the one person in front of me and one person who is normally in front of me but not for the last few weeks
So confusing.
have hated on. The Washington Commanders will get it done on the road in Tampa Bay. Give me Washington.
Yeah, can I say this too, Rudy? I think I did shortchange you on our preseason predictions because technically, although you didn't make it known that you had Washington high on our season preview, you did mention it pretty quickly to start I think our second episode, third episode. So I'm glad you gave yourself a shout out there because I think it is deserved.
I appreciate you saying that, Ian. I do. Now let's go to a team that most of us predicted failure. Say for your boy, Philadelphia and Green Bay. And it's fun. Okay, real quick. Got to have a quick correction there because I just said did not predict failure. That's only because you pointed out that I had them winning the division.
Yeah.
That being said, I absolutely did predict failure later on in the season. Just being transparent and honest. Philadelphia and Green Bay in Philadelphia. Who are you taking there, Ian?
Yeah. Once again, I'm just picking from my heart, or in this terms, out of hatred, because fuck the Eagles. Give me Green Bay and the upset.
Yeah, I like to be right a little bit more. I'll go with Philadelphia.
Look, I never said when the second half season collapse would start, so let me just say it's starting in the wild card as they lose.
Okay. Ian, so what that means is that your matchup will be Detroit versus Green Bay in Detroit. Who are you taking there?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I guess it would have been interesting. I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. Give me the Lions.
Lions. I, too, will take the Lions. And then your other matchup in the playoffs will be Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. Who are you taking there?
I will take the Vikings, and we will have a repeat from Week 18 with the Vikings and the Lions in the NFC Championship. Wait, Rudy, I do want to ask you. So, who do you have playing the Lions in your
Washington, and I'm taking Detroit in that one.
Okay.
Detroit over Washington. So Detroit for both of us. Nothing special there. And then you had Minnesota beating
the Bucks.
I put that in the wrong spot. You had Minnesota beating the Bucks.
And you have Eagles.
Have Philly winning that one.
You have the Vikings and the Eagles?
Yeah, right? Did I do that right? Because my lowest seed would be
Eagles
Washington.
Yeah.
Yep. And I got Philly beating Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, let's just stick with you, Rudy, and then you have the Lions and Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. What a fantastic and fascinating game that is. Ian, I'm going to predict that the Philadelphia Eagles will be sobbing all night long as Detroit parties on their own field. Let's get that Motown blaring on them speakers. Jared Goof and the meathead Biden knees get it done, and we'll be going to the Super Bowl.
Look, I think I ended the first segment saying that Jerry Jones needs a new writer since he's been watching too much of Landman. Jerry, I did find your writer, and it is Rudy with that headline. That was
I got you.
As he fooled me completely. So yeah, I have the Lions and Vikings playing in the NFC Championship. I don't think I could be a party pooper and say the Vikings win and make Detroit sad. So I will just take the Lions as I am just losing all the goodwill I built up in the pick'em segments as a champion. I am just picking from the heart now.
You sound so resigned to pick the Lions.
It's not what made me successful in this podcast, Rudy.
I understand. That's fair. That's fair. So, Ian, your Super Bowl matchup. At this point. Your Super Bowl matchup is the Baltimore Ravens versus the Detroit Lions. Who are you taking to win it all?
Yeah, the Lions may finally make it, but the continuous years of hurting is not alleviated, as the injuries are just too much for them to take out the Ravens. And for the first time in the NFL, a team that I considered unserious wins the Super Bowl, as the Ravens are your Super Bowl champs.
Wow. What a day that will be. Fortunately, I'll never live through it because the Super Bowl champions will be the Buffalo Bills. You heard it here first. It's coming out of the AFC, the long tarnished division. Look, Philly, Detroit, very entertaining teams, very quality teams. These are no pushovers, no slouches. I just think Buffalo, man, they just got too much to deal with. Give me number 17.
Ugh. Disgusting. I'm sorry that we have to end this podcast on such a disgusting note. But I think Rudy actually finally might have a chance to get his predictions right for once. So I am sad, but I'm also happy for my friend.
It also might be just like when we were reviewing our takes from the beginning of the season, just the embarrassment. 2 weeks from now, when we record again, I might have realized that I just don't know what football is, and all my predictions are wrong. And so, I mean, look, that is not just a possibility. Knowing my record and picking, it's kind of a likelihood. But we'll see. I feel good about it.
All right, anything else?
But, Ian, I thought I'm supposed to ask you. Do we have... Wait. No, I did that wrong. Go ahead, do it again.
Anything else?
Nah.
Let's get out of here.